Sleepiness overcame Timur just as he reached for the old coat hanging on the wall hook. He froze, staring into space, and without realizing it, began to drift into a doze. "What's taking you so long? Hurry up already!" His mother's voice snapped him out of it. "Coming, Mom. I'm coming. Just spaced out for a second. I stayed up late again last night at the computer. You'll go blind from that screen one day." It wasn't for long. Anyway, it's Saturday. No school. She just rolled her eyes and waved him off, already dressed, picking up a bucket of warm water and heading outside. Even after her surgery a few years ago, Timur's mother somehow managed to handle everything around the house. It often seemed like she could be in two places at once. Timur already felt guilty for staying up late. If his dad had been home, he wouldn't have dared break the screen time rules. But Mom was softer, unlikely to scold him too harshly. Sure, now he'd have to drag himself around half asleep. But hey, he'd finally beaten that cursed helicopter mission. He couldn't wait for Monday to tell his classmates, to see their amazed faces when he described his triumph. Just the thought of that admiration filled him with warmth, and even made his eyes feel less heavy. Still mentally rehearsing the story of his victory, Timur buttoned up his padded coat. He usually didn't have to help with the livestock in the mornings. His parents gave him evening duty. Nothing too hard. Clean the manure, toss down hay to keep the cow warm. But recently, his dad had taken a new job. New words entered the family's vocabulary. Shift work and the North. Today marked 2 weeks since his father left, and every day since, Timur had been waking up nearly an hour earlier to help his mom outside. His 6-year-old sister, Olesya, meanwhile, was still snug under her warm blanket, deep in her dreams. Must be nice. She was still small, but Timur was 12. Time to start being responsible, whatever that meant. He didn't mind the work. He was used to it. But Olesya's smug little jokes about his tired, wrinkled face drove him crazy. Timur stepped outside and shivered as the March wind hit him. Winter was loosening its grip. The snow had started to melt in spots, but mornings and nights were still bitterly cold. His father used to say that early spring was the trickiest time, when the weather only seemed warm. Timur pulled his hat down over his ears, remembering those words. Dawn was only just breaking, and the world was wrapped in a gray mist that made the bed seem all the more inviting. He trudged toward the barn, head down, cursing himself for not sleeping earlier. His felt boots, rubber-soled, felt like they were filled with rocks, each step heavier than usual. A sliver of yellow light shone from the extension next to the barn, a weak bulb inside. That meant Mom was already mixing the animal feed. He really had taken too long getting ready. As he stepped into the barn, the familiar scents hit him, manure and damp hay. He was long used to them, never bothered. But now there was something different. Metallic, oddly familiar. The dim gray light from the not yet risen sun wasn't enough to light the place like it did in daytime. That made Timur uneasy for the first time. He pressed the light switch and squinted hard. The brightness stung. The black and white body of the cow lay sprawled on the floor. Something about the way it was twisted, its head bent back unnaturally. It was wrong. Frowning, Timur stepped closer. He suddenly remembered the neighbor's cow, who once broke into the feed room and gorged until her stomach burst. But their own feed was stored in the extension, unreachable from here. The cow's fur was matted with moisture, its dark eyes staring into nothing. Dark fluid seeped from its mouth, soaking the scattered hay. Its head was flung so far back because a large section of its throat was just gone. Torn. The skin hung in shreds, revealing raw, gray-pink flesh and dried black blood. Timur felt his heart drop into his stomach. His hands were shaking, He hadn't even noticed at first. He tried to think, but the smell, heavy, wet, bloody, wrapped around his head and dulled every thought. He'd seen dead animals before. Growing up in a village, it happened. This was something else. He stood frozen, twitching this way and that, unsure what to do. Run to Mom. What had done this? Predator, bears, wolves. Timur remembered stories, but nothing like that had ever come close to their home. At worst, they saw foxes. This wasn't a fox's doing. Then, like a bolt of lightning, it hit him. What had felt off when he walked in. The cow should have been mooing, impatient, scolding them for being late. The chickens, too. Usually they went wild as soon as daylight touched their roosts. But now, there was silence. A deep, skin-crawling silence, pierced only by the sound of his pounding heart. Forcing himself forward, Timur reached the coop. He opened the door and gasped. Chickens were everywhere, not alive. Their bodies lay scattered. A pile of heads sat eerily in one corner, beaks gaping as if snarling. Timur's knees buckled, and he grabbed the doorframe. Foxes might kill for fun, he remembered. Ferrets, too, drinking blood. But who stacked heads? Why? Then he saw it. Yashka, the rooster, bigger than the rest, lay apart, stomped flat. Timur remembered how Yashka once attacked a neighbor's dog that came too close, fearless to the end. He must have tried to protect the coop. Timur fled outside. Cold March air hit his face, and he inhaled deeply. Relief. He was glad now he hadn't eaten. He'd surely have thrown up. Then he saw it. Light from the extension glowed like a strange carpet across the snow. The bucket sat alone. A little further off, his mother's short boot, still inside a rubber overshoe, lying on its side. Mom! Timur slowly picked it up. It was warm, freshly taken off. Why would she do that out here? He ran, searched everything. The yard, the bathhouse. No sign of her. The fear that had been knocking finally broke through. Tears ran down his cheeks. His voice cracked, calling for her. And then, he remembered Dad. You're in charge now, son. Help your mother. Take care of your sister. I'm counting on you. I will, Timur had replied back then, firm. Dad looked him in the eye and shook his hand, like a man. Timur wiped his tears. He marched to the tool shed in the back. There, among the shovels and axes, he found the carpenter's hatchet. The smooth wood grip felt solid in his hands. You're the man of the house now. He needed to check on Olesya. She was still inside, maybe asleep. Mom's phone was in the house. He could call Grandpa. Timur raced inside, past the entryway, into the main house. He froze. That smell again. Blood, hay, manure. The kitchen light was on, but it didn't help. The hallway was swallowed in darkness. He reached for the switch. Click. Nothing. Again, still darkness. Then, a sound. A faint smacking from deep in the house. Timur gripped the hatchet tighter and crept forward. His boot crunched glass, a bulb, broken, deliberately. Someone was hiding in the dark. A sob. Olesya! Timur sprinted to her room. The fear left him. Now it was just about his sister. The morning light grew stronger, and it poured into her room. Timur stopped dead. A figure crouched on her desk, beside the bed. Silhouetted perfectly against the uncurtained window. Cone-shaped head, broad bony shoulders, knees splayed. It stared right at him, eyes glowing like a cat's. The wet sucking sound stopped. It had been eating. A dull thud. Something dropped to the floor. Something heavy. A tiny hand flashed for a second in the light. Olesya. It had her. All this time. Another sob. Imitated. Mocked. The thing was mimicking her voice. Then, a clicking noise. Sharp, fast, laughing. Timur turned and ran, still clutching the axe, though he didn't know if it could help. But as he reached the hall, crack. Glass shattered under heavy steps. From the kitchen, a tall silhouette emerged. Cone head, freakishly long arms, glowing eyes. Behind him, another pair of glowing eyes. No way out. "I'm sorry, Dad," Timur thought, tightening his grip. Click, click, click. They were laughing.